Oscar season 2024. Welcome back to yet another race, another year of discussion coming at you about Oscars 2024. My name is Ben Friedman. I've been working in this industry for a few years, and today I'm going to be talking about the Oscars 2024 race as it's shaped up, because you know what? I always kind of wait for the end of the summer to really start talking about this year's award ceremonies, just because it takes a little bit of time for films to actually come up that are going to be in contention and will be talked about in any way during this award season. We finally got there. We have now had a handful of movies that will be in discussion. So I'm going to be talking about those movies today. These are not my final predictions by any means, though some of them I am very confident in will get this. This is just as of August 8th. 7:11 p.m. when I record this. These are the movies that if you really do like Oscar movies, or you really do like following this race closely, you should make sure that these movies you've watched, because in some way or another, they'll be in the conversation for the next 6 months to go. So with that all said, my name's Ben Friedman, and let's kick this off. So Oscar movies. The reason I really wanted to do this podcast today is because post Oppenheimer, it really felt like I had a big thing to talk about. So Oppenheimer, if you see this graphic right here, I have this being nominated for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 nominations that I think it will be up for consideration for. Some of them I guarantee will receive a nomination, if not the win. Best Actor for Cillian Murphy is a sure thing nomination. Best Adapted Screenplay, which is Christopher Nolan's screenplay, Best Cinematography, Best Director, Best Editing, Best Picture, Best Production Design, Best Score, Best Sound, Best Supporting Actor, Best Supporting Actress for Emily Blunt, and Best Visual Effects. These are the 12 nominations that I think Oppenheimer is going to at least be in consideration for. That's not to say that it will get all 12. It may get much less than that, but that is to say that you will hear these names in contention for these categories. So let's just break down Oppenheimer for a hot second. So I already said how I think Cillian Murphy is a sure thing lock to get nominated for his portrayal of J. Robert Oppenheimer. Some of the other ones that I see locked are Best Adapted Screenplay. I don't see anyone going against Nolan in this category, in the sense that they're going to bump him out. I think he is going to be one of the 5 for sure. It's going to be him and Martin Scorsese are 2 names that are going to make up 40% of this list. Same with Best Director. I really don't see a world where Christopher Nolan doesn't make this cut. Best Editing, the race may as well be over. I do think this film, Oppenheimer, is going to sweep Best Editing. So this is one that I feel really confident in. And the other one that I feel really confident in, and I placed that bet a few weeks ago, is Robert Downey Jr. receiving a Best Supporting Actor nomination for his portrayal of Strauss in this movie. I just think this is such an electric performance. This is a performance that everyone seems really excited about. I just don't see a world where Robert Downey Jr. goes ignored in this category. So that's why Oppenheimer, as I believe it, is going to do really well. There's a few other categories of it that I just wasn't sure how to talk about. Best Supporting Actress, I thought Emily Blunt was good in this role, but it's a very limited role, and the only reason she makes this list is that one scene that she gets in the third act. If you've seen the movie, you know exactly the scene that I'm referring to. If it didn't have that scene, there was no way she'd get this nomination. But I do think at this moment, she is at the very least a front runner to get the nomination. We'll have to see as the next few months pass. I don't really think she'll end up making the cut. Same with visual effects. Visual effects is going to be a weird one, and it's really largely going to revolve around Dune Part 2. And if Dune Part 2 moves, then this race is completely open, and something like Oppenheimer could easily get nominated. Besides that, like Best Sound and Best Score, I guarantee those will be it. I already made this prediction. I think Oppenheimer is a surefire thing to get 11 nominations. It's these few other bubble ones where it's like, could this get up to like the grand number of 14 or even break that and be 15 and make it the most nominated film? It'd have to get performances like Best Supporting Actor. It'd have to get that twice, one for Robert Downey Jr., one for Matt Damon. And I don't really see that being in its favor, but there is a chance. I do think at this time, though, I feel confident in saying that it will receive 11 nominations, which makes it really our first big film of this year. That's not to, again, say that there hasn't been other films released this year. That is more to just say that this film as it exists is probably the hands-on favorite right now and front runner to win Best Picture and really be the dominating force at this year's Academy Awards. But one thing to know about the Academy Awards, it's never too good to be the front runner. It is not a good thing to be the front runner early on in these award ceremonies. So that momentum may change for Oppenheimer, but as it exists right now, it is steering the ship. Let's just talk about, I guess, the natural, companion because they came out the same weekend, which is Barbie. I am a lot more apprehensive of the idea of Barbie just sweeping nominations and having like a grand total of 10. I think realistically, this film gets 4 or 5, though, for sure. If you see this graphic over here, there are categories that I do believe Barbie will be in contention for. These are the ones that I do believe there is at least in contention and that they will be pushing the film in. And let me just say right now, one of these I'm confused on because I'm not sure if Barbie is considered an original screenplay or an adapted screenplay. I thought it was adapted because it exists on an IP already known as Barbie, but it seems that the race is suggesting that as a best original screenplay. Again, not sure of it. I just saw that Clayton Davis and Hollywood Reporter were placing this under the category of best original screenplay, so I'm going to keep it in there for now. In this category, though, I have in contention, I think it's fair to say that Best Actress for Margot Robbie, Best Costuming, Best Director for Greta Gerwig, Best Hair and Makeup, Best Original Screenplay for Greta Gerwig and Noah Baumbach, Best Production Design, Best Song, 2 Best Song nominations actually for I'm Just Kidding, What Was I Made For, and a Best Supporting Actor nomination for Ryan Gosling. I think it will be campaigning for all of these. I do not think it will get that high number because that would imply that this film is getting about 9 nominations. I think this film arguably ends with probably about 4 to 5. Here's the ones that I feel comfortable in, and they're all below the line categories. I do think Best Costuming, it may even be the hands down front runner in this category. Same with Production Design. I think both Best Songs are very much in the race. I'd say I'm Just Ken is probably more of the front runner at this moment, but we'll see. And then I would assume that Hair and Makeup is also in Barbie's favor. So I have it for about 5 categories. I'm a little bit more wary of the idea of Greta Gerwig actually getting a director or screenplay nomination for this film. This could get him Best Picture, but it's so hard to say. I mean, at this moment, there's going to be 10 nominations, so you could make the case that this is kind of this year's Top Gun Maverick, the big fan favorite. And if that's the argument that you want to make, I wouldn't blame you. Barbie is a toy, but it is at the same point, it's also making $1 billion and means a lot to a lot of people. So maybe. Best Supporting Actor, I think Gosling is actually quite deserving of this. I just don't really see a world where he gets this nomination, but it would be a very fun nomination. And I think Warner Brothers will spend money to try to get Gosling the nomination. They even may believe that Gosling is the more surefire thing to get a nomination over Robbie just because of how broad that comedic performance that Gosling delivers is. I think they would see something along the lines of Melissa McCarthy in Bridesmaids or Robert Downey Jr. in Tropic Thunder and could try to pitch it themselves like, oh, at least Gosling gives that kind of supporting performance. So it might be a little bit of category fraud too, because I would call him more of an lead actor, but there's no way they campaign him as the lead actor. They will campaign him as the best supporting actor. He may be on the bubble for that one, but I do believe this will get a handful of nominations. Let's talk about what is probably the third film that has really made some noise. I will just be upfront. This is the one film that I have not seen, but I have heard that it will be in contention. At this point, I haven't had the chance to see it, and I won't have a chance to see it until it releases to digital in about 2 weeks, but this is Past Lives. This is a film that I'm just going to kind of read what I've been hearing about this. I've heard Best Director and Best Original Screenplay seem almost like sure things at this moment. This is a film that premiered at Sundance that is seeming to have the traction to continue on for the rest of this race. Movie premieres at January and still doing this type of numbers. A24 knows how to run a campaign. It does seem like this is in favor of it. I've heard great things about the lead actress, Greta Lee, and the Best Supporting Actor in John Magaro. So I do see that. And Best Picture. I don't know. Again, I haven't been able to see it, but the hype for this movie does seem to consist. There was a lot of buzz coming out of this at Sundance this year in January. That buzz is still going for it, and it did really well at box office this summer. It seems to have the momentum suggesting that it will get nominations. I will have a review of Past Lives when I actually get to see it later in August. Now, let's just talk about other films that I think will be in contention. So this one's another fun one. And this is where I'm talking about where it's just like, how do you predict a film to be in contention this early? And that's why I really want to differentiate. This is not this will be a guaranteed thing. This is more of homework. These are the movies that very likely could be in contention. So if you are at all interested, follow these movies, watch these movies. And that's the case for this movie, Air, directed by Ben Affleck. A movie that I actually wouldn't be that surprised about if it only gets one nomination or even zero. It wouldn't shock me, but at this moment, I do feel like it is in a strong place that if some shakeups happen, if some big films end up failing and don't get nominations, that this one feels like one that people could revisit and be like, this is actually a really solid film from a director and team that we really love. And there's some nominations that are so universal that it just feels like this could easily get the nomination. That's just like maybe you get one and then two, and then all of a sudden you have like 4 nominations. That's why I'm referring to Air today. For those nominations, I do think it is safe to say in contention right now, Amazon Studios will be presenting Best Actor for Matt Damon, Best Director for Ben Affleck, Best Editing, Best Original Screenplay, Best Supporting Actress. At this moment, I think editing is actually a fairly okay chance to get nominated, and I think Viola Davis for Best Supporting Actress is in contention. The other 3, I'm less so. I'm a little dubious on their actual chances of it. However, it is that point where it's still so early on, and like I said, if maybe a few films that premiered well, like maybe Zone of Interest comes out and just due to the subject matter of that film, people don't respond to it and it just kind of becomes a nothing. Same with maybe Saltburn is a disaster. Maybe Napoleon is a mess. Ferrari means nothing. Like if these films kind of, go out and just don't really deliver on anything, or if Dune Part 2 moves due to the strike, there are going to be open slots. And thus, that's where I feel like a film like Air has a chance to pick up a few nominations. Same with Matt Damon having the hype from Oppenheimer. Being in Air, it could kind of be another seen as a reward nomination. I don't think he's any threat to win the actual Best Actor statue. But if it's one of those things where, some years like when they have Roman J. Israel, Denzel Washington, they have to get to 5. And, James Franco was probably originally in that 5th slot for the Disaster Artist. But it was the case of James Franco had unfortunate, behavior that came out and led to him basically kind of losing his chance to get a nomination if, he never gets accused of those crimes / assaults. He would get that nomination probably and would have been that year's 5th. So there's always a case. So these are the other names that I'm just like, there is a chance these people could get nominated. So watch this film, and it's a really good film. So I would also just suggest it on that account. Let's talk a few more films. So I've made graphics. They're pretty small for them. Let's talk about other films that I think will be in the race. And this is actually a really interesting point. So let's start with this bottom graphic, which is Best Adapted Screenplay and Best Supporting Actor for Glenn Howerton for the film Blackberry. a film that I just saw and actually need to review. Glenn Howerton is insanely impressive in this movie. It is such a wild bonanza performance. I don't think Glenn Howerton's famous enough, but this would be, if he got nominated, this would be such a fun one. Again, I don't really think Blackberry will get nominated for screenplay or best supporting actor at this moment, but there are films to look out for, and you will certainly see an FYC campaign run, and they will put a lot of their energy in Howerton's nomination because he's easily the more sure thing of this film to get nominated. There is a lot of internet support for him. This could end up being one of those ones where it's just like he gets in because the outcry is so big for him to get in. So I keep Blackberry on your radar and check out this film for this Howerton performance. That's the best element of this movie by far. The animated race is actually quite interesting. As you see, I have two on here that I wanted to talk about. So let's talk about Elemental, which, despite being a film that opened poorly, has been performing all summer and is not necessarily, I don't like when I've been seeing people declare this a box office success. It is just the case of this movie ended up actually doing much better than it had looked. It wasn't dead on arrival, and it's still making money. I'm still dubious that, this film cost $200 million minimum to make, plus marketing. I know that it's already crossed 400. I'm still actually curious if Disney will break even on this film, but certainly better than they had originally hoped, where it does look like breaking even is far more likely than what it was when it premiered in June, where it's like, this is an utmost disaster for Disney. Elemental is a Pixar film. I think it is fair to say that this could easily be one of the 5 nominations. But with that said, this year's animated race is kind of a mess in the sense that there are already 4/ maybe even 5 films that are going to be nominated, and we still have a Disney movie on the horizon to come. Let's look at one of the other main contenders in this best animated race, which is the Super Mario movie, which at this moment I think could easily get the best animated feature film nomination and a best song nomination for the film Peaches as sung by Jack Black. So we're already at 2 nominations for animated, but as you see on this next graphic, we have 2 more. There's the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem, which just came out beginning of August, to very good reviews. This just feels like another film that could kind of just ride on the wave of this. It kind of feels like a Spider-Verse type, not even nostalgia, but just kind of style. A lot of beautiful animation in this film. It wouldn't be the most shocking thing to believe that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles could be the 3rd one nominated. And then if you're doing the math in your head, you're also looking at the 4th one on this list, which is Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. This film is a surefire thing to get nominated and is easily the front runner to win best animated feature film. This film is going to be in contention and probably the winner of animated. I could also see it very much being in contention for score, sound, and adapted screenplay. Maybe even a best picture, again, if some things don't pan out for the rest of the categories. But at the very least, that means there are 4 films at this moment which could easily receive nominations. Disney has a 5th film coming out, or not a 5th film, but Disney has another film coming out in November called Wish, which, if the early beliefs on what I've heard about this movie are true, this also kind of sounds like a surefire thing for Disney. It sounds like they really believe in Wish and the music in this movie. They really think it's going to be a big hit. That's 5. Which would just technically be like, well, we know what our 5 are going to be, except Studio Ghibli released a movie to Japan a few weeks ago, which I'm blanking on the actual title of this movie, but this is, Miyazaki coming back to his kind of style form, maybe one of the last we ever get from him. There hasn't been anything about it when it's coming out to America / if it's coming out this year. If this movie, though, is like the Studio Ghibli route, then you'd have to assume that's a nomination, which means there's 6, which means animated picture is actually going to be quite crowded this year, not including the fact that there's a few Netflix titles that could receive nominations that will come out these next few months. This one is one to keep your eyes on because animated picture is becoming shockingly crowded really quick. And then last but not least, best documentary feature for Still a Michael J. Fox Story. This is a documentary that premiered on Apple TV. It also had its original run at Sundance in January. I've seen this. It's a very good documentary about a really important figure in Hollywood. This is a movie about Hollywood, but this is also a movie of Michael J. Fox's Parkinson. I think this is a really feel-good movie. Wouldn't be surprised to see it nominated for Best Documentary Feature. At this point, these are the movies that I think you should catch up on / know. Again, there's probably more. There's probably even a few movies that I'm forgetting. Something like Asteroid City may appear. I don't think it's going to, unfortunately, even though I really like the movie, but we will see. And with that all said, we'll just kind of see. This is where this race stands as of August 8th, and we'll revisit in the next few weeks and just kind of see. We're going to get a wave all of a sudden where at the end of August, beginning of September, we'll have more people have seen Killers of the Flower Moon. Zone of Interest. We'll have other premieres because of Venice and Telluride happening, where my guess is films like Ferrari. Maybe we get an early Napoleon screening. We're going to get the new Natalie Portman film, I know for sure, September. There are films that are going to premiere, and we will start getting more. So this race is really just starting to heat up. At this moment, these are films that I would say check out before the race really gets going. And as of August, I think they have a chance, or in some cases like Oppenheimer and Past Lives will certainly be in this year's conversations. With that all said, my name is Ben Friedman here from the Beneverse Movie site, Beneverse Movie channel. That's what I'm called. If you like this video, make sure to like and subscribe for more movie topics and discussions. Thank you all so much for watching. Take care and bye-bye.